Tony Gravely is back on the show this time as he prepares to fight Geraldo De Freitas November the 14th at UFC Vegas 14. Tony, how are you?
Doing great, sir. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. It's great to see you. And life has changed a little bit for you. You and the family moved down to Florida, and you're training at one of the best gyms in the world, American Top Team. I haven't talked to you really, not in interview form anyway, since you've been down there. How has it been? How's the transition?
It's been great. Getting used to the Florida life's a little different, but I enjoy the heat. I think I feel better, and I usually do better in the heat. I don't know if it's the sun or the heat or what, but I feel great. Just getting in a routine at the gym, getting accustomed to all the great people, the great coaches, fighters, just great people in general has been like a really cool experience. Very motivating to see. Not just the big names, but all the up and comers who aren't big names yet, but everybody does a really good job of helping each other and getting each other ready. So if you're not getting ready for a fight, then you're in there and you're doing your best to help someone else that is getting ready for a fight. And that's a cool experience, a good cycle.
How many professional fighters are there at the gym on a day-to-day basis training at ATT?
Man, it's a lot. It's probably, let's see, I'm trying to picture the mat, what it looks like, and trying to guess about how many, because the mat, there are multiple mats. There's cage area. There are two big mats. So there's like a wrestling room. There's a blocked off other cage area. Then there's actual cage, and there's bags by the cage, then bags, and there's like a fitness room. So there's like so much space, and it's never free. It's always somebody working. But man, if I had to guess, it's got to be over 50. I mean, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's probably just 10 to 15 between flyweight and bantamweight. So, I can only imagine it's well over 50. Has to be. But it's so much space, it's spread out, so it's kind of nobody's really running into each other because everybody's doing their own thing, and it's cool just to see so many people that take it serious and they're doing the best they can, no matter where they are in their career. They're trying to get better, they're motivated, they're working hard, and it's just inspirational to see.
Now that you're there and you've been there for a little while, do you, I mean, obviously it must be the right move for you. Do you wish you would have made this move even sooner to get down there and be literally at one of the very best gyms in the world?
Yes and no. It's kind of bittersweet because I do miss all the people that I used to work out with at Tech MMA and at Virginia Tech and all those people. And I like the fact that I made it where I was without a big gym, but I could say, yeah, I wish I'd have came down sooner because that wouldn't have hurt either. That would have been, that would have been great. The quicker you can get in and get all these high level guys and learning from, the better. But I do like the fact that I can say that I made it to the big show without being at a big gym, and I take pride in the fact that I made it there from living and working out in Virginia. And I think a lot of other people see that as inspiration, that I was able to do that before I made it, before I actually made the move. So yes and no.
What have been some of the biggest lifestyle changes from Virginia to Florida? And how are you adjusting as far as that goes?
I guess the biggest lifestyle change is probably just being around more people. I've always lived in small towns. So hasn't been like a ton of people, and usually where I lived, it's almost like an everybody knows everybody type thing. And here, there's so many people, just an everyday thing. Traffic isn't too bad because I don't have to go on I-95 to get to the gym. But just being around a lot of people, and then with the whole COVID thing, it definitely makes everything even more different because everywhere you go, you have to wear the mask. You're in an area where there's a ton of people, and you go in the stores, and you can't really social distance. They keep saying, "Oh, social 6 feet," but when you've got all these people in the store, you can't do stuff like that. But I'd say the main thing is just the amount of people, and I feel like people are more friendly in Virginia. It's not that people aren't friendly here, but there's so many people that I guess it's hard to be like as personable with someone than there are when there are less people.
Sure.
So
No,
I guess that's the only difference.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And that was actually going to be my next question as far as like the pandemic goes, because 2020 has just been a very bizarre year. And then you're down at Florida with a lot more people than, in Virginia. So I got to imagine it's probably been a little bit more difficult at times to really just kind of live your life normally with just such an enormous volume of people around you.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I can say that everyone at the gym has been nice and great. Just everyone at the gym is great, and at the gym it's hard to like do the whole pandemic thing. Everybody's, we still have everybody that runs the gym, Dan Lambert and Richie, and they do a really good job of making sure. If someone happens to like them, like they're not working out, they wear their mask, they do their part. People are always cleaning, things like that. But for us as fighters, it's not like we can wear the mask while we're doing stuff. We're gonna sweat on each other, sometimes bleed on each other. But sometimes they make sure all the coaches, if someone's not feeling good, they're like, make sure you stay home. If you have to stay home for 2 weeks, do that. We've had a bunch of tests come through just to make sure that everybody is isn't carrying it and they don't know they're carrying it, because that happens. You get people that are fighters or someone that's like really healthy, you may not show any symptoms at all, and it's not that we're necessarily worried about being sick and being of course we care about not giving it to someone, but if you test positive, you can't fight, and people at the gym, their livelihood is based on them fighting, getting money to support their families and things like that. So they've been doing a really good job of making sure everybody makes it to the fight. Nowadays that's a fight itself, is it's like a new job. Don't catch it, and then you have to make it to the fight and then fight,
Yeah, tell me about it. That's a great point. Now, are you just training full time, or do you have a job also on top of training?
No, I just train full time.
Perfect.
I just train. I've been training full time since like 2016. Just one of those things where it's different because I guess once the pandemic, once everything opens up, I would like to try to like possibly do what I was doing at my old gym, which is teach the kids and things like that. But now there aren't any kids going on anything like that. But for the most part, it's just been just training as if like I get paid to train, because that's what it takes that's what I'm used to. That's what I know. And that's what I enjoy doing. So, I may not get paid to actually put this time in, but it's going to all work out in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll tell you, the one thing that would make me a little apprehensive about moving to Florida is I'm kind of a little baby when it comes to snakes. I don't like snakes. They freak me out, and I know there's a lot of them out there. Have you had any run-ins with any snakes? I mean, I've heard horror stories about them getting into houses and whatnot. Has that happened to you or anything like that?
No, I've only seen like one snake, and it was so tiny. I literally thought it was a stick. I thought it was either a stick or like a fake snake. And but it was like probably that big, literally that big. But the thing that you do see a lot of are iguanas, anoles, geckos, and called curly tails. So I like lizards, and I like all animals. So like we live, I don't know if you can see at the back, we live on the bottom. We live on the bottom floor of a condo. So at the bottom, right out there, there's a pond. So the iguanas, they hang out by the water. They swim across the water, so there's always lizards outside of our door. And sometimes, like geckos will get in your house, and they'll like crawl around on the wall and stuff. But I usually catch them and take them outside. But I like reptiles, so actually that's one of my favorite things about Florida is the fact that they're always reptiles. You get to see them, and I enjoy them. I think most people think they're pests. That's because I guess because they have like plants and things and they eat the plants, but I don't care. I don't care about stuff like that.
Yeah, iguanas, geckos, none of that stuff bothers me. It's just snakes. I distinctly remember, like back in 2010 when I lived in California, I came outside one day and I was living on the side of a mountain at the time, and there was a teenage like rattlesnake that was sunbathing, stretched out on the steps. And my roommate said he saw me jump, and I looked like a cartoon character. I jumped up, turned around, and moved like 20 feet, like in one motion because I was so scared. So I'm glad to be back on the East Coast because of that, but I do miss the warm weather where you're at right now. Now, I haven't talked to you a little bit since your last fight. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way. You had a loss to Brett Johns. Just tell me, what did you take from that fight, and where are you mentally right now when you do bounce back from a loss?
I think the biggest, you look at fights and they should definitely bother you, but you shouldn't be bothered to the fact that you can't move on or get something from it. But I think as far as that fight goes, there were good things that happened, there were bad things that happened. But one thing I think I can take from it is that I kind of gauge myself on where I am in the competition. I know that Brett Johns was formerly ranked, which I think he should have still been ranked. I think he should have never not been ranked, but I think he had like an injury which put him out for like a little bit, and so he was inactive for a little bit. But I think he actually just moved to Bellator, but he ended his career in the UFC. I think he was like 6-2. So, and the only two losses were to, I think it was Aljamain and Pedro. So two really tough guys. And I think that even though I lost that fight, it was a good gauge of where I am as far as this big pool of bantamweights. And, that fight could have went either way. And unfortunately, it didn't go my way. But I was able to get in there with a tough guy, push myself, and I learned some things about myself and about things that I needed to work on, and learning how to make in-fight adjustments, things like that. So overall, I don't dwell too much on it, but it still does bother me. I'm a competitor. I hate losing, but I think that I learned a lot from that, and if anything, it's going to help me in the future than hurt me.
How much better are you now versus that fight?
I would like to say I'm a lot better. It's kind of hard to say because you need something to gauge it off of. But I would like to say that I'm a lot better. You look at situations like that, and at the time right afterwards, you're upset and you say, oh, I should have did this, I should have did that. But now, after being in that situation, now I'm going to do this and do this next time. So sometimes when I'm in training or situations, I think back to those moments that I, where I told myself, oh, I should have did this, and then I do it while I'm training. So I've learned from those situations, and so I would like to say that I'm better. It may not be a huge percent, but if it's 1%, 2%, then it's better.
Clearly, the bantamweight division has been one of the best divisions in the whole UFC for a while now. It just keeps getting better. It's deeper and deeper all the time. The title fight is right around the corner. You got Jan and Sterling. I got to get your pick, man. Who do you think is going to win that, and how do you think they're going to win it?
I'm not sure. I hadn't really thought too much about it. I don't know. It's hard to see. I know it's going to be a lot of action. Aljamain, I think his style and his length is something that could be an issue for Peter Yan. Peter Yan's probably I guess he's probably about my size, a little shorter. No, well, he's probably taller than me, but Aljamain's his length is something that makes him hard to deal with. So if he uses that right, I think he can win the fight. I don't think it's going to be one-sided either way. It's going to be a good scrap, but I think that Aljamain is going to be capable of putting him in positions that he hasn't been in before, and I think Aljo by decision. I don't think it's going to be a finish. I think it's going to go to the end.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'm still on the fence. I could see it going either way. I do think it's going to go to a decision. I don't think either guy is going to get a finish. If they do, I mean, who knows? Anything can happen, but I think they're both pretty evenly matched. And I think really what you said about Aljamain's length that could be the deciding factor. Can he use that to his advantage? Is he able to maybe use his jab to stun Jan and maybe keep him at distance and work leg kicks? Who knows? But I can't wait for the fight. It's going to be a good one. We did a very lengthy interview. It was earlier this year during the pandemic about the greatest of all time. We had a whole tournament and we spent an hour talking about all of that. I just got to follow up on where your thoughts are now with Khabib retiring at 29-0. There's rumors that he might come back next year. Where do you feel like what he's done and now retaining the belt again, beating Gaethje the way he did? Where do you feel like that puts him in the whole MMA GOAT debate?
I'm not sure. It's one of those things still. It's kind of hard to. It's always kind of hard for me because it's like everyone. There are always times where people know, like all these greats aren't together at the same time, competing. So it's like, it's hard to gauge because you're looking at like different competition compared to like each other because the sport's constantly evolving. So, you could probably say that all the competition today that people are fighting in could probably beat all the competition in the past based off the fact that it's an upward spiral of learning from the past generation. So it's really hard, but I definitely think, I'm not positive. I would say it's hard to argue because he's so dominant and he, there hasn't been anything close, I would say as far as him and John Jones, I personally think he is above John Jones. He's never failed for PEDs. He's a great role model. I think those are things to look at as well when it comes to like thinking of a GOAT. I think of not just fighting, which is important. That's the point of, being a GOAT is GOAT of MMA. But I think what you do as a person too should factor in. So you look at all these different things and being a good example for what he stands for and also being able to dominate everybody. I think he's above John Jones. And then the whole GSP thing is that's hard to tell. I'm always going to be like somewhat biased as far as GSP goes, just because, growing up in that, watching that growing up, like that era of fighting I'm always going to think it's like up here because I love him so much, so it's hard to I think those two are definitely the two to be fighting above John Jones and Khabib. I've seen a bunch of on the internet, a bunch of back and forth about which of the two is best and things like that. But I think it's GSP and Khabib.
Yeah. Well, you and me are right there on that because GSP is my all-time favorite fighter. I try to be objective, but with him, it's tough. I will say this about Khabib. He hasn't been in the UFC, nearly as long as someone like George. He had such a long and illustrious career there. So I feel like his strength of schedule is not quite as great as St. Pierre's was. He hadn't fought in the UFC, as long. So that comes into play. And who knows, the one fight that he's rumored to come back would be for George in 2021. And I'm not sure, man, even a 40-year-old George St. Pierre, he's amazing. And he hasn't taken much damage. So I don't know, that could be really interesting, but that'll be discussed for, years to come.
Yeah.
Sport continues to evolve. Now, your next fight, Tony, is next Saturday. When do you leave for Vegas?
Actually leave next Tuesday.
Okay. And have they told you about like the testing and the quarantine, like how all that's going to work once you get there?
Yeah. So I had to do a test. I think it was Wednesday. They'll send you a kit. You have to do your own test through like a Zoom meeting, and you send it off. And I guess that's so, you don't get there and you already, have it. So they test you. Then when you get there, they test you again. So from what I hear, you get there, they test you. And I'm not sure how long your quarantine. I don't know if it's 24 hours, 48 hours, but they test you once you get there. And I'm not sure if there's any more testing after that. But as far as I know, that's what the schedule is going to be like. You stay in your room for a little bit, and hopefully it's not too long. But that's all I know as far as the the testing and the quarantine part of it.
Who's going to be making the trip with you? Who will be in your corner come fight night?
Steve Bruno's going to be in my corner, and my wife's going to be in my corner.
All right. Yeah. So, and again, this will be not in front of fans. I mean, everyone's going to be watching at home, but as far as the arena goes, it will basically be empty. How do you feel like that's going to affect you?
I think it's bittersweet because, the fans do make it, they make a difference, and also I do like the fact that there aren't any fans because I can hear my coaching, it'll be somewhat like the Contender Series, even though I had, like 15 people at the Contender Series and they were pretty loud, but now it's going to be a little more quiet and I can actually hear my coach. So, which is good because that's almost like the gym. When we spar, Steve, he corners me while we're sparring. So he's like yelling things out. So it's kind of like the exact same thing is what's going to happen. It's not going to be so loud to where I can't hear any of that, So, and I've learned to, that's another thing, the in-fight adjustments. So when you're sparring, it's now that sparring is going to translate even more to the fight because now I can hear him as much. And when he calls out things, I can hear those things and I can react and use those things. And I'm excited about that part, to that I can actually hear it and I'll be able to translate those things in the fight. But I will miss, hearing fans and the cheering and things like that. That makes that could, make a difference on any side. But hopefully beginning of next year, sometime early next year, we get the fans back and get to experience that again.
Yeah, tell me about it. I just can't wait to go back to live sporting events again. And I know, MMA fights, UFC, a lot of people are really missing that. Now, your opponent, he's 12-5. He did lose to Chris Gutierrez. He's got a signature win over Felipe Colares. What do you feel like about this matchup? Where do you feel like you're going to hold a big advantage here in this fight?
I really like this matchup. I think it's another really tough guy. I love fighting tough guys, like, just overall, if you take away all the skill sets, I love fighting tough guys because I consider myself a tough guy. So now it's like, who's the toughest guy, because there's a point in the fight where you start to get tired. And then some of these skills kind of, if your body can't carry these skills, it's whose body's the strongest, whose mind's the strongest. And I really like that. But, I think he's pretty well-rounded. He's pretty good on the feet and he's also pretty good on the ground. But, I think I'm better on the ground. I think I'm better on the feet. I think that I hit harder. My striking's gotten a little better. I'm finally moving my head a little bit more, which is good. Moving my feet a little bit more. So, but I do feel like even if it does hit the ground, that my wrestling is better than his jiu-jitsu. From his back, I don't think he's very aggressive from his back, which is better for somebody like me. I've been in plenty of fights where people want me in their guard, and those are fights where I end up wearing people down. So I'm excited about this matchup. I'm excited to get back in there, fight another tough opponent, and wherever the fight goes, I'll be ready. I'm ready. Doesn't matter. I'm going to push the pace, and wherever it ends up, I'm ready because I train with some of the best fighters in the world. All these guys I know that these guys that I train with are better than my opponent. And I know that a fight is different and a fight is real, but it's the same as far as skill versus skill. The only difference is that we're actually trying to kill each other this time, which I enjoy. That's like my favorite part of fighting is now I don't have to worry about his health. I can go in there and I can try my best to kill him within the rule set,
Did you envision this fight going to the judges' scorecards, or do you think you're going to get a finish here?
I think I'll get a finish. I think I'm going to wear him down. I've seen, you can look at older fights and you can, say, oh, they get tired or things like that. But, I really see, I feel like I'm in really good shape, probably the best shape I've ever been. And I know that I can push people until they break. And I feel like watching his past two fights, like I said, I know people change and things happen, but I've seen points where if I was fighting, I was like, oh, I would have broken him by now. He would have quit. I would have got this finish. And I think that's going to be the case. I think that I'm going to push, and he's going to push too, but I don't think he is going to be able to push like I can. And I think that eventually I'm going to get a finish, whether it's a ground and pound or it's ground and pound and he gives up his neck, or, I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I'm going to be there, and whatever, presents itself, I'll be ready to take it.
Well, I know the fans are looking forward to seeing you back in the cage again. Tony Gravely will face Geraldo De Freitas on November the 14th at UFC Vegas 14 at the Apex in Las Vegas. Tony, it's always great to talk to you, my man. Before I let you go, I just want to give you the floor. Any social media you want to plug, or anyone you want to thank? The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me on. It's nice to talk to you again. Thank you for everyone back in Virginia. I miss you guys. It's been a while. Everybody from Tech MMA, Virginia Tech Wrestling. All my family, friends. Thank you for continuing to support me, and everybody's checking up on me, and excited to watch you fight. So I'm just excited to get back in there. Thank you to my wife for making the move with me and helping me, doing whatever she can to help me with the process. Everybody at American Top Team, all my training partners, which is a ton, because it's a ton of very tough lighter weights. I don't want to say any names because I don't want to like miss anybody, but everybody at American Top Team, all the coaches, doing a great job of helping me become the best I can be and helping each fighter. I really appreciate it.